Welcome to Journey to Joy Live. I'm your host, Dr. Enjoy, bringing to you the last Journey to Joy Live of the year, 2023. That went by extremely fast. Seriously, when I think back a year ago, I was pregnant. I was about 9 months pregnant. So I had about a month ago, maybe more, because he was due February 6th, I believe. I don't even remember. It's just so crazy how that kind of thing just kind of leaves your mind. But that's what I remember. And, usually when you think about the next year, you try to think about, well, what didn't I do in this previous year and what can I do better for the next year? Thinking about the new year always brings about some type of a guilt or some type of a regret or sadness because you feel like, well, I just did not do everything that I wanted to do this year. But then you feel better because then you're like, oh, what can I do next year? Which is why we come up with the New Year's resolutions. You can think of new day resolutions, new week resolutions, new month resolutions. So New Year's resolutions, if you're the type that just like does not work out for you, that's okay. Come up with goals or resolutions that are doable, that are not exceeding expectations or that aren't, something that you may not be able to do. So if it's more doable, then that's cool. This title of this week is Reflecting on Resilience. Resilience. Thinking about resilience, it's really thinking about how can I achieve my goals or achieve joy, achieve mental wellness despite dot, dot, dot. Whether that's despite a setback, despite a failure, despite depression, anxiety, despite psychosis, despite trauma, despite loss and grief, despite financial failures, despite failing that test, despite divorce, despite kids acting up, despite spouse acting up, despite whatever. How can I push through? How can I persevere? How can I get through that despite? So, resilience on your journey to joy is extremely important because you might hear joy and you're just like, oh, here she goes talking about joy again. How can I experience joy? Because I'm experiencing all this pain and I'm experiencing all this suffering. I'm experiencing all these obstacles. Listen back to the other journey to joys. I talk about obstacles to joy. I talk about how to get to joy despite trauma, how to get to joy despite loss, from grief to joy, how to face stigmas. I started this podcast in July, so it's been 6 months, that's crazy. It's been 6 months. I didn't even think I would be doing a podcast, but I see other therapists and doctors out there and having their voice out there and helping others and spreading the word for mental illness and mental health. That I says, well, why can't I do that too? I can do it too, and I want to, because I find myself helping patients one at a time, which is great. That's all I feel like I need to help is one person at a time, and we're good. But if I could reach more voices, more ears at a time, then that's why I'm doing this. I started back in July during Minority Mental Health Awareness Month because mental health or mental illness stigma is prevalent regardless of your color or gender, to be honest, but especially in the Black community. Don't nobody want to go see no psychiatrist, let alone a therapist. We say, oh, let's pray about it. We say, oh, ain't nothing wrong with you. You need to be strong. Mental illness is weak. So I started out talking about stigmas and talking about the misconceptions that we have about mental illness. Went through the next 6 months talking about joy, how to reach joy despite. So anyhow, resilience. Resilience is something that I want to focus on today because that is how you can reach positivity, how you can reach joy and happiness and peace and serenity and all those things. Because the idea behind resilience is that you're not ignoring the fact that you will reach suffering, that you will experience some type of mental illness or some type of setback. It will happen. Just like I tell people who face bullying, I like to help people deal with the bullying rather than try to figure out how we can stop the bullying. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So what we need to do is build our children up to face it. So in that same line, build ourselves up to face adversity, to face trauma, to face these negative stressors or whatever it is that you're facing, and that you can experience joy despite that. So what happened this year? What are you regretting? What do you feel guilty of? What do you wish that you had? I don't even know if I had a New Year's resolution list last year, but when I reflect on my year in general, like I said, I started out this year pregnant. I had that baby 15 days early. So that was cool because I wanted him out. So that was in January. And then maternity leave was the next 12 weeks of that. Maternity leave is nice, but then you can experience postpartum depression. You can experience postpartum blues. What am I trying to say? The blues, the mommy blues. You can experience that after having a baby. And I know I experience all kinds of hormones that go on when it comes to having a baby. So there's the sadness, there's the I'm not a good mama, there's this and that and the other. And of course, not everybody gets paid 100% during maternity leave. So I know I experienced some financial issues too. So maternity leave is stressful. But I hit the ground running. After I started back work, I started this business, Enjoy Life. Life stands for living in full empowerment. It was amazing. It's been amazing year with this business. Started out pretty much with a social media presence and the podcast. But yes, it does have a private practice. I do have a private practice. I am accepting patients. So if you are a Georgia resident, you can come see me. Go to my website, www.drenjoylife.com. You're a Georgia resident and able to pay out of pocket because I'm not on insurance panels with my private practice. Now, if you look at your insurance and my name pops up, Nina Mena, that's because I'm on insurance panels at Chris 180. You can see me at Chris 180 too. Sure, I see children, adolescents, and adults. So you can see me there too, or my private practice, but that's out of pocket. Anyhow, so after I started back work, I decided to start this business and then decided to leave my other job. I was working for Morehouse School of Medicine, which is an amazing academic university, but God called me to work directly for Chris 180, and that's been amazing as well. I think the second half of the year just went by really quick after that. So when I think of setbacks and failures, whether it's like financial issues or financial stressors, it's just a matter of getting back up and getting in there and figuring out what you need to do. I know I did the Peace University. That is Dave Ramsey's online university that helps with finances and helps with budgeting and all of that. So I definitely recommend that for people with financial stressors. That is a major stress for people, especially getting into these holidays. We talked about that this month. Resilience, resilience. That is key. How did the holidays go for y'all? That can be stressful as well. That can definitely be stressful. If you have any family members who are just not exuding the joyful presence that you wish. And oh, how do we deal with that? Resilience, positive mindset, positive affirmations, having your own self care. When you take care of yourself before dealing with others, before going to work, before parenting for the day, then you have this strength and this resilience to be able to conquer that day. When you get that sleep, when you get that meditation in, or that exercise, that yoga, or whatever works for you, then that is helpful for your day. Let's get into more about this whole resilience thing. What is that? Bouncing back despite. How do I experience joy despite? How can I navigate these challenges and setbacks effectively? Well, let's see. The positive mindset. I mention that all the time. I'm going to keep repeating myself because I don't know who's watching which podcast. The ones watching this one, you are learning that in order to experience and have resilience, despite what you're going through, despite the challenges, having that positive mindset, positive affirmations is key. I talk about that so much because a lot of us have negative thoughts, negative mindset, and that just makes you feel even worse. Focus on what you can control. What can you control that happened this year? What can't you control? You can't control it. So get out your mind, push it to the side. What can you control? Write that down. Well, I can control that I failed that test and I can figure out why I failed and study again and take that test. Why did I get laid off? Why? Well, that's probably something you can't control, getting laid off. Or why did I get fired? Maybe you can control why and then work on those qualities. Why did I get a divorce? Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Usually getting a divorce is a good thing because it's like, now I'm done with that marriage and I can move on and focus on myself, whatever. So, there's people out there having celebrations when they get divorced. Focus on what you can control and refrain from those negative thoughts. Reframe them. I always talk about reframing your internal dialogue and turn it into positive thoughts, a positive mindset. Embrace the challenges as opportunities for growth. So it's not that when you experience joy, you're never going to experience suffering or trials or stress or pain. Embracing the fact that it is a part of your human existence that is going to happen, and what can you learn from it? I think that's where my source of joy comes from. I don't welcome suffering, but it's kind of like, oh, this is a test. Okay, what can I get out of this? It's a reminder that it happens. I'm human. And what can I do to grow from this? So, parenting, for instance, I had already had a 2-year-old, and then this baby boy comes, and I'm like, that was just like mind boggling. I said, wait a minute, I have a whole nother baby. I'm starting over. It was kind of confusing. I don't know. The hormones really did a work on my brain because I thought I had two of the same. It was really confusing. Anyhow, I was like, oh my God, how could I possibly start over with another one? But I got through it. It was hard. I mean, mothers raise lots and lots of babies all the time. That's definitely something we can control is how we have the kid and how we raise the kid. Eventually, you kind of lose control as to how the kid's going to act. That's why I do my joyful parenting segments because we got to have fun with this parenting thing and pick our battles. Keep it simple. Check out those reels if you haven't. Focusing on the challenges as opportunities for growth rather than self pity or why me? Why am I facing all these? For those who are Christian, there's scripture, God would not allow things on you that you can't bear. So basically, if he's presenting these to you or allowing you to experience these obstacles and stressors, that means you are strong enough to bear that. Same with the weight analogy. If you're lifting 50 pounds or 100 pounds, however many, you're strong enough to lift it. So that trial, that trauma, that stressor, that obstacle that you're experiencing, you're strong enough to face that. That's why that fell into your lap. And how can you change from that? How can you grow from that? Resilience is the ability to grow from challenges and to be able to learn from it and be a better you. So, in reflecting on this past year, reflect on what did turn out great this year. Reflect on what you can control and how can you squeeze out that positivity and bring it into the new year because we got a whole nother year. And let's make that doable list of goals that you would like to accomplish in 24. Building strong connections, that also helps with resilience. Nurturing supportive relationships. So those in your life, going back to whether it's family members or friends, whoever done messed up your holidays, made you more stressed out with the family dynamics, friend dynamics, if they are getting in the way of your joy or making your mental health worse, making you more stressed out, they don't need to be in your life. Point them in the direction towards some help and say, you know what? I need a break. And that's okay. Nurture the supportive relationships, those who you can trust, those who are making you more joyful, making you better, and who are supportive to you. And continue talking to them. So we need a strong social network. That helps with resilience. Being adaptive and flexible. Resilience is definitely about that. Bouncing back. How can you not bounce back? How can you bounce back if you're not being able to adapt, if you're not flexible? So if you're so stringent and focused on that certainty or focused on 100% structure or on everything being perfect, or I can't experience any type of stress or else I'm just going to fall and I'm going to break. Oh, come on. Come on. You can do it. And tell yourself that because that negativity is not helping at all. Embracing change is a part of life. It's a part of life. Pain is a part of life. Change is a part of life. Develop flexibility in the way you think and in your problem solving and have alternative solutions to your challenges because they're going to happen. That's why I talk about the coping skills toolbox of self-care routines. Have a self-care routine. What is your routine? What is that? Look at my self-care podcast. Check that one out. Realistic goals, those doable goals. So, what are some goals that didn't work out this past year? Why didn't that work out? Was it realistic? If it was realistic and it didn't work out, why didn't it work out? Figure it out and then go from there. Change that mindset. Well, I wanted to lose 50 pounds. I wanted to lose 20 pounds. Well, in order to do that, it takes consistency. In any goal, it takes consistency, doing that thing consistently and staying committed. So, no, you can't lose 20 to 50 pounds if you are eating donuts every day or ice cream, cookies, or cakes. The perfect diet that helped me out, I lost 32 pounds in 3 months, but this was like um, 15 years ago. This was a long time ago. But there was a nutritionist at my church, and he said, no bread, rice, pasta, candies, cookies, cakes, and ice cream. And he kept repeating it really fast. No bread, rice, pasta, candies, cookies, cakes, and ice cream. No bread, rice, pasta, candies, cookies, cakes, and ice cream. I was like, I'm going to remember that. I actually did it for 3 months and lost 32 pounds. I was consistent. Plus, I was working out. I work out a lot, but diet is the major thing. That's how you really lose the weight. So I've been working out a lot, but I haven't really changed my diet. And the whole no bread, rice, pasta, candies, cookies, cakes, and ice cream thing, that's a little hard. So sometimes I'll do away from the sweets, but then I'll still have like rice or pasta. But that's one diet you can try. If that not realistic for you, then don't do it. Do something that's realistic for you and that you can maintain. Because why go into a diet that's hard to maintain past when you reach your weight goal? There's no point in that because maybe you'll end up gaining the weight back later. So do something that's more realistic for you and your goals. What's that larger goal? Break down the larger goal to smaller, manageable steps. Celebrate your achievements no matter how small. Focus on progress rather than perfection because perfection is not going to happen. Perfection is never going to happen, but focus on the progress. Focus on the journey. That's why it's journey to joy, not just, hey, let's all be joyful. No, it's not that. Enter the journey. It's a journey. I'm a runner, so I love my running analogies. Like a marathon, life isn't a sprint where you have to race to the finish line and figure out who's going to win. Although there are winners in a marathon, I'm talking about all the rest of the people who aren't in there trying to win it. It's a marathon, and you're going to finish when you finish, not when anybody else finishes. So it's no point in comparing. So it's all about the progress, not being perfect, not trying to win. You will get there. Mindfulness and stress reduction. That is important for resilience. Practicing the mindfulness meditation, incorporating relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, managing stress through healthy coping mechanisms. So important. And then just learning from your challenges, learning from adversity, learning from the pain. Why is this happening to me? What can I get out of this? Because you're always going to be stronger on the other side, having faced it. Just view it as an opportunity to learn. That's important. Reflect on the past experiences and identify the lessons that came out of it. If life was perfect, what are you learning from that? Think of it that way. Are you learning joy? Are you learning peace, self control, kindness, gentleness, goodness? Are you getting those things out of life? If it's just all good and everything's great, think of it as that opportunity to grow. Am I resilient? How can I be more resilient? What can I squeeze out of this year that's positive? And if those things don't work, if you are unable to think positive, if you're unable to use coping skills, to think of coping skills, unable to have realistic goals, unable to clear your mind enough to have mindfulness, grounding techniques to reduce stress, if you're unable to do that, that is a sign of the need to seek professional help. Consult somebody like me. That's why I'm on here. I'm not saying, I can prescribe you medication unless you come see me in my practice, but I provide the opportunity weekly at 7 p.m. on Thursdays where you can ask questions. And if it's something that I'm not able to answer because I'm not your doctor, then I can definitely point you in the right direction. Either way, seek that help. If it's serious enough where you are fighting with the not wanting to live or wanting to kill yourself, 988. That's the suicide crisis lifeline. Or you can text it, chat it, or call somebody. Or go to the ER, Georgia Residents, Georgia Crisis Access Line, GCAL, GCAL. You can call that number. It's a 1-800 number. Seeking professional help when you just can't do it on your own, or your normal self care practices or coping skills toolbox isn't helping. In general, maintaining a sense of purpose. That's how we get beyond those dark thoughts, those negative thoughts. That's how we get beyond the stress beating us down or the trauma continuing to haunt us. What are your values? What are your passions? You're alive for a reason. You're still here for a reason. Write those down when you're feeling good so you can go back to them. Just like I mentioned during the gratitude episode, write down the reasons you're feeling gratitude and then go back to it. Journal, write things down, connect with daily activities to a broader sense of purpose. So, what you do in your day to day, that can connect with what your purpose is. Your job does not have to connect to what your purpose in life is. Like you might say, oh, I work at a call center and that has nothing to do with my purpose. That's okay. You don't have to quit your job to go live in your purpose. Or maybe your purpose is something you feel like you're not making money for. Don't quit your job. But you can also do those things that are in line with your purpose outside of your job, whether it's because it's a hobby or you're working on bettering yourself or bettering whatever that purpose is. And then you can be able to transition out of one job to the next. Or you might continue to work at that call center job while doing your purpose on the side or at the same time. You do not have to equate a career with purpose. It is good to love what you do, that's for sure. But have a sense of purpose. Having a sense of purpose can fuel resilience and being able to bounce back. My story, when I set out to become a doctor, I always wanted to be a doctor ever since I was 5 when I got hit by a car. I'll tell you more about that maybe in another episode. I just knew I wanted to go to medical school, and it was really tough getting into medical school. Medical school is hard. Or no, well, medical school is hard, but getting into medical school is hard because of the medical college admissions test. Yes, MCAT. Now I'm forgetting. It's so long ago, but I have to remember what I went through, that pain, the resilience, that persistence and endurance that I had to get through to get to med school. I have to remember that hardship, because that was real. I took the MCAT 3 times, was ready to take it a fourth time. My point is that I knew that It was my purpose to become a doctor. So that's why I didn't give up. I took a break from the process, but then went right back to it. So having a sense of purpose for you and your life is extraordinarily important to keep you here and to keep you fighting, to keep you trying. So focus on reflecting on you, reflecting on who you are, reflecting on your year. You've got to have some downtime to do that. You've got to have some me time. You got to have some quiet time to do that. Quiet time for meditation, some time for self care, time for reflecting on your goals and your purpose. You have to do that the same way you have to eat, the same way you have to get a good amount of sleep, the same way you have to be at your job. Yes, you have to work that in. And it's possible because I do it, but I'm also human and I also experience pain and suffering and the need for resilience. Developing problem solving skills is definitely important for resilience. Breaking down problems into manageable parts. A problem can seem huge, but when you break it down and you're like, okay, I'm just going to deal with this part of the problem, then I'll deal with this part, then I'll deal with this part. Identifying potential solutions and weigh their pros and cons. Lastly, taking practical steps towards solving challenges. Challenges are going to come. Make it your goal to be able to solve those problems. And if it's difficult to do, then seek help, whether it's with a therapist or a pastor or a teacher, an educator, a life coach. It is possible. There's so many Facebook groups, social media groups, YouTube videos, and stuff everywhere. Go back to school if you need to. So, as we reflect on resilience in this year, what is resilience? I talked about how you can practice resilience and what you need to do to bounce back. Journey to joy. Are you on your journey yet? If not, what's stopping you? What are you afraid of? All you have to do is say, you know what? I want joy and I'm going to get there. Thank you for listening. Happy New Year.